Van Hollen, acknowledge the presence of the full committee chairwoman with us today, and we're honored by your presence. But Ambassador, we're ready for your testimony. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Moran and Ranking Member Van Hollen, for having me today. As you know, Senator Moran, I lived in Kansas when I was a young Air Force captain, and Senator Van Hollen, I live in Maryland now, so I'm both your constituents. And I'm glad we're able to finally gather for this hearing after trying to schedule it for some time. I'm looking forward to our conversation. I'll focus my brief remarks on the successes of the new reciprocal trade negotiations and, of course, on the resources that the Office of the United States Trade Representative needs to carry out its mission in 2026. I would say thus far this year there's been a large return on your investment in USTR as we've gone around the world securing market access that U.S. exporters and workers have been seeking for decades. I know that many would like to have the prior status quo of the Biden administration with sky-high historic inflation and no effort to get market access anywhere. I know people want to have that, but that is not President Trump's goal. He ran partially on tariffs and correcting the U.S. trade deficit, and he won on that platform. And as you know, in April, President Trump imposed reciprocal tariffs in response to the national emergency caused by that trade deficit, which was $1.2 trillion at the end of 2024, which had increased by 40% over the Biden administration. And the result is that we've lost and continue to lose manufacturing capacity that supports our workers and their families, that fuels U.S. innovation, and safeguards our economic and national security. Of course, over the summer, the president paused those tariffs at 10% so we could have negotiations, and we worked through the summer and fall at USTR to negotiate trade agreements with interested trading partners. We announced deals with the United Kingdom and the European Union, both of which have already moved to open up market access for beef, for ethanol, for all industrial products into the EU, for a variety of agricultural goods into the EU. On August 1st, the president further modified the overall tariff structure to account for the forthcoming deals and each country's bilateral trade deficit with the United States. So the structure that came up, absent a reciprocal trade deal, countries where we have a trade surplus have a 10% rate, countries where we have a small trade deficit have a 15% rate, and the larger offenders, with whom we have more pronounced trade deficits, they have higher rates. And throughout the fall, the president announced more trade deals with countries like Korea, Vietnam, Thailand. And we signed the first two formal agreements on reciprocal trade with Malaysia and Cambodia during his October visit to Southeast Asia. Cambodia has reduced all of its tariffs for U.S. goods, and Malaysia is in the process of doing so. And since returning, the president's announced additional framework deals with El Salvador, Argentina, Guatemala, and Ecuador, demonstrating the strategic approach to the Western Hemisphere that's focused on expansive new market access and economic and national security alignment with partners in our own backyard. Just last week, I signed the permanent agreement on trade in agricultural products with Israel, and that made permanent a trade deal that previously required annual recertification by Israel. And this deal guarantees our farmers permanent duty-free access to that market, and it further strengthens our ties with an important ally. So these agreements are achieving long-standing U.S. trade priorities, something we couldn't have achieved without the leverage that the president has obtained. For example, 8 countries have committed to ensure market access for current and future U.S. producers using certain meat and cheese terms, even though the EU is going around the world trying to prevent U.S. meat and cheese producers from using them. 11 countries have agreed to accept U.S. automotive emission and safety standards so that our automakers can export freely. 9 countries have agreed to accept U.S. FDA approvals for new treatments and medicines, making American innovation available around the world. We've also received strong commitments from our trading partners to enhance IP protection, provide a level playing field for U.S. companies with respect to their domestic labor and environmental protection standards, and improve coordination on economic security. On top of that, we're working with China, and we've been in continued talks. China has not always been a reliable partner, to say the least. As you know, China this year has controlled rare earths and threatened to do so. This is unacceptable, and so President Trump has been in discussions with the Chinese. Right now, the rare earths are continuing to flow. The Chinese have resumed their purchases of soybeans and sorghum and those other products, and we continue to maintain leverage on the Chinese in the way of tariffs. And of course, all of this is on the condition that China complies with its agreement. The China-U.S. relationship is stable. Of course, we're still quite cognizant of issues related to overcapacity, et cetera. I expect we will continue to sign more trade deals over coming weeks. We're breaking the mold of conventional wisdom in Washington, and it wouldn't be possible without the talented career officials in my office. They're the best at what they do. They layer in all the details that make these deals extraordinary. These career officials have helped deliver on the President's agenda and achieve a more reciprocal trade relationship with our partners, even though, despite having limited resources and support, and facing shutdowns and other things, they've been quite tenacious. Because of this, President Trump has requested that USTR's budget be increased to $72 million for salaries and expenses and $23 million for the Trade Enforcement Trust Fund, a $21 million increase over fiscal year 2025. Our budget has essentially been flat for 5 years, and it's high time to increase this so we can deliver for your constituents. And this will allow us to hire additional trade experts and new personnel to conduct enforcement. And I hope we can work together on this, and I'm happy to answer questions this afternoon.
Ambassador, thank you very much. Let me turn for the first set of questions to